Hey everybody, what's going on? And welcome back to another episode of the Saturdays in Stores podcast, which you can find right here on the Court Store Media Network. I'm your host, Kanaye. And a lot has gone down in the world of Husky basketball since last week's episode. Last Saturday, UConn suffered a loss on the road to Marquette at Phorm in Wisconsin, and really just felt like the sky was falling to Stores. It was a bad, really bad loss against a Marquette team that just has not been good all year. And for them to turn around and do what they've done the last two nights now in the Big East tournament is set up a rubber match with the St. John's Red Storm in the Big East Tournament Championship on Saturday night in Madison Square Garden. It's been a very big shift in where the vibes were regarding this program from last Saturday to Friday night now when I'm recording this episode for you guys. So a lot to get into today, 3 recaps, a little bit of a quick preview for tomorrow's tournament championship as well. But before we get into all that, 2 quick announcements. First, us here at the Court Store, and we've partnered with Phorm Fitness Supplements to tell you all about the great products they have to offer, whether it's protein powder, pre-workout, amino acids, or any other fitness supplements or fitness apparel that you might need. Phorm has it for you. And if you're interested in seeing all the products that Phorm has to offer, I'll be plugging their link to their full website in the description box below. Additionally, please engage with the content you see on this channel in any way you can, whether it's liking, subscribing, or just telling other people about the Court Storm. Everything goes a really long way with influencing the algorithm on YouTube. As we know, it is super crucial to get more people to see our videos to grow this channel. So just do whatever you can. Turn on post notifications as well so you can see our latest videos first. So let's go right into it. We'll start with the Marquette loss. Now, UConn lost to Marquette 68-62 in Wisconsin. For just being bleak here, this was probably the worst loss of the season for the Huskies. When you go into this game with a Big East regular season title on the line, or at least a share of it with St. John's, you got to come out and win this game. And honestly, from the jump, UConn just did not look ready for this game. They looked uninterested. They didn't play with the level of passion and tenacity that we've come to expect out of the players in this program over the last couple seasons with the run that Dan Hurley and UConn basketball has gone on for the last 4 years now. When you play down your competition the way that they have for most of the year, especially in Big East play to teams that are not going to make the tournament, it's just not going to result in wins. And that's really what was the case here. I mean, Nigel James Jr., Big East Freshman of the Year, he had a really great game, wasn't super efficient, especially from beyond the arc, but still nonetheless finished with 19 points. And man, Silas really struggled to stay in front of Nigel, I think, at times. And I definitely think Marquette was the beneficiary, I should say, of a home whistle. And that's just what you kind of have to expect. And you know that this UConn team is never going to win the free throw differential battle because they don't have a lot of guys that draw fouls. I mean, tonight, even against Georgetown in the semifinals of the Big East tournament, I believe UConn only shot maybe 6 free throws. It might have only been 4. I know Braylon for sure shot 4. And I don't know if anyone else got to the line outside of Braylon tonight. But anyways, getting back to this Marquette game, it really was just an accumulation of all the problems that we've talked about, and anyone who covers UConn basketball or college basketball for that matter has talked about regarding this UConn team this year. Offensively, they just ran stagnant for most of the game. Silas Demery waited a little bit too long to call his own number and try to get things going and getting downhill. Silas did a really good job in the second half of being able to draw fouls and get to the line, and he really is the only guy on the team outside of Terrace Reed who's capable of doing that, just because he is the only true creator off the dribble with just how this roster makeup has been put together by Dan Hurley and the coaching staff over this past offseason. So it's just something that I kind of talked about a lot. Silas, I think, needs to look to call his own number earlier and often in games when he realizes that other guys just don't have it going. I mean, Alex Caravan, 2 points in this game. Only points in the game came from the 2 free throws he shot when he went to the line. Terrace Reed, I felt was really strong early on. I understand he got into the foul trouble, so that was something that definitely limited him production-wise and kind of got him out of his flow and out of his head state that he was in early on in the game when he was going at Ben Gold, when he was going at the bigs on Marquette, and it just resulted in having to play Eric Riba an extended amount of minutes when he kind of struggled in this game too. You didn't really get much out of your bench outside of Jaden Ross. I thought Jaden Ross was fine in the minutes he played, and that's going to be a big theme over the next 2 games that I recap coming up. And Braylon, he didn't really find his shot. He went 1 for 10 from beyond the arc, which is definitely something that we hope we never see again. Of course, Braylon's been a little bit streaky shooting-wise, and he needs to find the consistency. I know he spent time in and out of the lineup between the injury he had to start the season and the concussion in the Villanova game at the XL Center in Hartford weeks back ago now. And Solo Ball was just inefficient too, man. He just couldn't find his stroke. He couldn't find his shot. 2 for 10 overall, 2 for 7 from three. Really just what was an ugly game. Defensively, I don't think the energy was there. Offensively, they were stagnant, as I mentioned earlier, and they just committed a lot of just bad fouls, bad turnovers. I mean, they had 16 turnovers overall, and a lot of those were unforced. Just silly mistakes that shouldn't be made this late in the season. Those are things that you get out in your bye games in the non-conference slate. And unfortunately, UConn still has a fairly major turnover problem, and that's honestly kind of carried over into the Big East tournament too, with how they played against Georgetown. So they definitely got to come out hot against the Johnnies tomorrow night, or when you guys are seeing this tonight. But I mean, yeah, it pretty much takes care of everything I had to say regarding the Marquette loss. Again, it takes UConn off the 1 seed line. And at the end of the day, UConn was probably going to play in a region that isn't really close to where their fan bases are primarily from. I mean, you're probably going to end up in the South. You're probably going to end up in the Midwest. There's a slim chance UConn ends up in the East as a top 2 seed. But with how it's shaping out, with all the bracketology metrics that have been put out by ESPN, Mike Lenardi, and some other sources that cover college basketball, it just doesn't seem that the East is a realistic possibility for UConn right now. Of course, that's all subject to change, but we got to see how things unfold as conference tournaments around the nation continue to go underway. So let's get into the Xavier game, first round of the Big East tournament. Absolute rout by the Huskies against Musketeers. UConn won 93-68. The offense came alive in this game. It was definitely nice seeing a strong offense performance in what feels like a very, very long time, that the Huskies were able to eclipse the 80-point threshold. In this game, they obviously went 493. I think by far the best player in this game, or I don't necessarily know if best player is the right way to do it, but I honestly think while Terrace probably had the best stat game overall, I think Jaden Ross was my MVP, man. Just the minutes he provided off the bench, 22 minutes. He was slotted in playing small ball 4. He was just another point of attack defender that Hurley could throw out on the floor next to Silas, and just the plays he made, the 3 steals that led to the 2 transition dunks, the tip dunk he had off Braylon Mullins' missed 3, him being able to knock down another 3-pointer and continue to let it fly, even though he had one bad air ball. I mean, just it's very clear Jaden Ross is playing with a level of confidence we've never seen out of him up until really this last maybe 2-3 week stretch now, where yes, we knew what he was coming into STORRS. He was advertised as a lockdown defender, and that's primarily what he's been up to this point, leading up to this year, I should say, in his UConn basketball career. Now, just the growth we've seen from him this year offensively, I mean, it speaks volumes to the work he's put in. Just the confidence in him being able to let these shots fly and just to see them go in. It's incredible to see. I'm so happy for Jay Ross. This is a guy that could have left the program 2 straight years in a row now and decided to stick it out, work on his game, contribute to winning, make the tough glue guy plays that don't go down in the box score and maybe aren't as flashy as some of the other things that you could be doing on a basketball court. But nonetheless, I mean, he is really becoming one of the heart and souls of this UConn team this year. And I think he's honestly starting to provide some energy that this team really lacked for most of the year, and it definitely needs going forward as we get into one the Big East tournament championship against St. John's, and as well as March Madness, because I mean, that's something I've pointed to since the year started. Who was going to be the Cam Spencer? Who was going to be the Andre Jackson? Who's going to be the Isaiah Whaley and the Christian Vitale? Is just someone who just plays pedal to the metal, holds others accountable, plays with tenacity, plays with toughness, just a dog on the defensive end of the floor. And I think Jaden Ross might have to be that guy because no one else has stepped up to fill that role right now. And I think Jaden Ross, despite him being a bench guy, I think he needs to be vocal. He needs to be a leader when he is on the floor. And I think he is fully capable of doing that. And that's what he has been doing for the last several weeks now. But I mentioned Terrace Reed. Terrace went for 17 and 14 in this game, and he was just really impressive. The Huskies went to Terrace early and often, and he was able to convert on the majority of his attempts. He went 8 for 12 overall shooting from the floor. He did a great job sealing this game. He didn't turn the ball over, which has definitely been a struggle for him at points. And when Terrace Reed is playing to his ceiling, he's just so dominant, and I honestly think, a top 3 center in the sport. Now, the thing is with Terrace is the consistency. He doesn't always play to his ceiling, and that's something that UConn needs to have going forward if they want a legitimate chance to go to Indianapolis and cut down the nets and bring home number 7 to STORRS. Now, really, it's kind of a toss-up every single game what version of Terrace you're going to get. The version of Terrace that's, in a way, kind of a black hole on the offensive end of the floor, who's turning the ball over, who's kind of forcing up shots when he probably shouldn't, or is he going to be someone that's disciplined and having performances that are replicable and doing things that aren't too outside of his wheelhouse. Something like we saw against St. John, something like we saw against Xavier in this game in the first round. These are the types of performances that Terrace needs to look to have going forward. Just not doing anything that's too out there for him, but just contributing to winning, doing what he's done for most of the year on the defensive end of the floor with how much more disciplined he's been with the foul. I mean, last year he could not stay on the floor because he was always in foul trouble. And this year it's been a lot different. Of course, there are certain games that he gets into foul trouble like he did against Marquette. But overall, he's been on the floor for the majority of the games this year, and he's been pretty productive. And I did kind of forget to mention I want to throw a quick congrats out to Alex Caravan, Terrace Reed, and Silas Demery Jr. for all making Big East first team. That is the first time in the conference's history that 3 players from the same team were selected to the all Big East first team. Silas Demery was also selected to the Big East all defensive team. I honestly felt he probably should have won Big East defensive player of the year. That went to Zuby Ejiofor at St. John's, but nonetheless, you can't put into words how impactful those 3 guys have been to this program this year and leading to what is a 29-4 record when you guys are seeing this, and of course hope to make it 30 against the Johnnies tonight. But anyways, getting back to Xavier, Alex Caravan I thought played a hell of a game. 15 points, 5 for 10 from the floor, was able to bang home 3 threes, and I think after his 1 3 he made tonight, he is only 1 3 away from tying the program record for 3-point makes. I'm gonna have to fact check that once I get out of here today. But nonetheless, I mean, just the epitome of when Alex Caravan is able to play off others and play to his ceiling. 15 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists, just doing the little things, being the best connecting piece, being the best glue guy in college basketball. And I mean, UConn's at their best when Alex is playing at his best. It's definitely great to see. Solo ball, I definitely thought was encouraging. Not super efficient overall, but still, he had some tough misses from beyond the arc, but continued to let it fly. I think he was 1 for 6 from 3 at one point in the game against Xavier and finished 4 for 10 overall. Got to the free throw line. He was able to create his own shot, play make for others at points of the game. And he finished with 19 points against Xavier in last night's game. Eric Riba, I thought, was pretty solid off the bench. Malachi Smith, I honestly was quite impressed with 6 points in the 23 minutes he played. Silas Demery Jr. got into foul trouble, so that was a big reason why we saw the extended amount of playing time for Mally last night. He added 2 assists to that, did turn the ball over 3 times, so that's definitely something you want to see get scaled back going forward. But it seems like Malachi's playing with a lot more confidence in the Big East tournament than he did towards the end of the Big East regular season play, excuse me. But that pretty much takes care of everything I had regarding the Xavier game. Good getting this win, good seeing the offense getting going, because it was not necessarily the same case tonight against Georgetown. This was a game I was really worried about. Georgetown was probably the hottest team in the Big East going into this game. Tonight against the Huskies, they beat DePaul in the first round of the Big East tournament and then upset 3-seeded Villanova last night in what really was just a blowout win for Georgetown that completely caught most people, including myself, off guard. But you need to remember, I think this Georgetown team is a lot better than what their record indicates. They have talent. KJ Lewis is their leading scorer. They played without him in the Big East tournament. They honestly, you could argue they look better. They have guys that can really play. Vince Iwuchukwu, he's had moments this year. Julius Halifa-Noah, he had an incredible game against Villanova. He completely outplayed Duke Brennan. Malik Mack has had moments this year. Jeremiah Williams has had moments. Kayvon Mulready, I think, is one of the more under-talked about and underrated players on this Hoyas team. Isaiah Abraham, former Husky, so there's always the revenge factor that is on the line when you are going up against one of your former players. And overall, they were riding a lot of momentum coming off that Villanova win, and they played UConn tough both times this year. They nearly beat them at Gamble. They nearly beat us at Capital One. They played St. John's really hard on St. John's senior night at MSG. And this is a game that, when you consider how UConn this year has played down to their level of competition, I was really worried. But thankfully, UConn was able to pull it out with a 67-51 win to set up a rubber match with the Johnnies on Saturday night at the Garden for the Big East Tournament Championship. I think head over heels best player in this game was Braylon Mullins, and when you consider that he had the game high 21 points on 8 for 17 shooting overall and 2 for 9 from 3, so he's not even making his 3-pointers yet. That's just really impressive. And when he does start making his threes, then I think we're going to see Braylon go to a complete new level. I really do believe that Braylon is built for big moments, and I believe he's built for March. And I think the best is yet to come for Braylon. He was, yeah, I was right earlier. He was the only one to shoot free throws in this game. So that's definitely something that you want to see a little bit more out of this Husky team. Again, never going to win the free throw differential, but if you can get opportunities to get to the line, get to the charity stripe, and chalk up 2 points on every visit, it's going to help the offensive production and the metrics on KenPom with that. Braylon, I thought, did a really great job in how he was able to just draw all the volume and attention to him with how effective he was in the mid-range shooting from that area today. And he was able to make a nice pass down to Eric Ryba later in the game. I thought something that really impressed me in this game was Terrace Reed from the playmaking angle. Now, he did not by any means have his greatest scoring game with only 6 points and 3 for 6 overall, but he added 7 rebounds to that and 8 assists, which is a career high for Terrace Reed. And just some of the passes he was able to make at the top of the key, where he didn't force a dribble handoff to Silas and was able to hit solo ball on a cut. I think he hit Alex Caravan on a nice cut to the basket as well. He was able to play make out of the post too. And that's something Terrace Reed, I think, needs to look to do more of, because a lot of times he kind of gets a little hot-headed and he kind of puts his head down when he catches the ball on the block, and he just looks to make a power move and kind of force something up. But with how much gravity he attracts and how much attention is placed on him when he catches the ball down low, guys are going to be open. So, I mean, Terrace just needs to look up and find guys like he did tonight. And if this is a dimension of his game that we're going to see more of going forward, then that's just going to make this UConn team that much harder to defend. And it's going to hopefully open things up for the shooters this year, because obviously the offense hasn't been where we thought it was going to be this season. And quite honestly, I think at this point, this UConn team might just be what they are offensively. I don't really know how much more there is a level to jump to throughout the rest of the season. Jaden Ross in this game was outstanding once again. 8 points in 25 minutes that he played. 2 big threes that he hit at several points of the game. Did have 2 turnovers that were a little sloppy, but nonetheless, he defended at a high level. He was disruptive. He was on the ball. He was aggressive, and that's just what you want to see out of Jay Ross. And it's definitely, it gives you a level of comfort knowing that Silas is not the only guy that can be a complete lockdown, point of attack defender and guard the other team's best player. And having Jay Ross, someone who can come off your bench and provide that for you, it's very, very good knowing that. Outside of that, though, I think Silas played a pretty solid game. I think there were opportunities for him to maybe ease back a little bit. I do talk a lot about how I'd like to see Silas be more aggressive scoring-wise, and he definitely was hunting his shots at several points of the game, but a lot of these shots I think were forces and not necessarily the best value shots to take at that given point in the possession and in the game. But as the game went on, he was able to knock down 2 threes and hit a nice mid-range jumper, as well as a layup, if I'm not mistaken. Now, outside of that, no one really was all too special in this game. I just think it was a great defensive effort. Holding the Hoyas to only 51 points, I think, was big. And the 3-point defense on the perimeter was stellar. I believe Georgetown shot 2 for 18 overall from 3 in this game. And that's just really impressive, because when you hold a team to 13% from beyond the arc, it's special. And that's something that we'd like to see tomorrow night against the Johnnies, which I feel now is probably a fair time to get into the preview for what is a chance to win a Big East tournament championship. Now, obviously, this is the rubber match against Rick Pitino and the Johnnies this year. And I was hoping that it was going to be a conversation where UConn and St. John's splits the Big East regular season title. Obviously, that's not the case, but had that happen, could have chalked it up as, hey, whoever wins this tournament championship is the real Big East regular season champion. But that's just not the case that UConn is in right now. It's not the situation they're in. They got to play for a championship. They got a chance to do it. They got a chance to play in MSG in what should be an electric atmosphere. I expect the split between UConn and St. John's fans to be much more even than what it was when UConn went to play St. John's at the Garden several weeks back now. Honestly, over a month. I believe close to a month, maybe more ago now. So think about how much time has passed since that game. It's pretty crazy that we're only 2 days, or when you guys are seeing this, a night away from Selection Sunday. And I mean, what more can you ask for from a Big East fan perspective? St. John's, UConn, Rick Pitino, Dan Hurley, 2 guys who obviously respect each other, but definitely deep down despise one another. 2 of the top teams in the league, 2 of the top teams in the country. 1-1 split in the regular season, play for a championship on the line tonight at MSG. I don't know what more you could ask for. And I'm super pumped for this game. And this is going to tell me a lot about how ready this UConn team is for the NCAA tournament. It's going to tell me a lot. I really believe that this team now is starting to trend back in the right direction following that really just ugly loss to Marquette on the road in the last regular season game. I really believe this is a big opportunity here for UConn to prove to the rest of the country that they are tournament ready, that they have been battle tested. They've gone through the ups, they've gone through the downs, but at the end of the day, they can come out and beat a St. John's team coached by Rick Pitino that definitely obviously holds one over them, being the regular season champions in the Big East. And if UConn could come out and pull this one out, they're probably safe on the 2 seed line and have a very good chance of being the top 2 seed going into the NCAA tournament. And we'll see how things work out with Florida, who's probably the last 1 seed right now. Iowa State just lost today to Arizona on a buzzer beater from Jaden Bradley. So, I mean, it's all there for UConn to be the top 2 seed, or at best be the bottom 1 seed, or the last 1 seed, I should say. But to get into the actual, I guess, game preview here, St. John's has looked pretty good in the Big East tournament. They destroyed Providence in their quarterfinal game, while Seton Hall did make things dicey for the Johnnies as the game went down to the wire in the semifinal game between the two programs today. St. John's it never really felt that St. John's was at a threat of losing that ball game against the Pirates. I just think that they went early. They went inside early and often, and they just imposed their physical will early into the game. I really feel like they sucked a lot of energy out of the Pirates, just them being so physical and just so aggressive down low. Zuby Ejiofor got what he wanted. Dylan Mitchell got what he wanted. Bryce Hopkins was able to get to the cup. They were able to beat guys on baseline drives where they're kind of tiptoeing on the out of bounds line going towards the basket. When they were attacking closeouts. And I just think UConn needs to come out ready on the defensive end of the floor. St. John's they're going to throw some punches tomorrow. They're pissed. They only put up 40 points last time they played UConn in Hartford, and it was ugly. It was embarrassing for St. John's. They're going to come out with a level of motivation that we probably have not seen out of that team this year yet. And there's going to be a lot of motivation on the UConn side too. Dan Hurley, swept by the Johnnies last year. St. John's won the regular season and the Big East tournament titles. That's definitely probably still really fresh in the minds of the guys from last year's team. Solo Ball, Alex Caravan, Jaden Ross, Stewie, I know he's not playing, but Terrace Reed. And they got to come out hungry. They got to come out with, it's the last game of their college careers. This is the last true Big East game that they are going to be playing. Of course, who knows if they match up with a Big East team in the NCAA tournament down the line. This is legitimately probably the last time we will see these guys play Big East competition. So they got to come out and play like they are playing for a championship, which is definitely what is on the line tomorrow night. And just look for the offense to get going. I think you got to try to go into Terrace Reed. You got to really establish him down low. You got to show Zuby Ejiofor that Terrace is not going to back down and that you're not going to back down as a coaching staff from what Zuby can do defensively. You got to go at him. You got to get him into foul trouble, take him out of the game to force Ruben Prey to play an extended amount of minutes. You got to close out on the shooters. Granted, this is an under-talked about stat. St. John's shoots much, much better on the road than they do at MSG this year. I believe they are shooting 28%, maybe just barely sub 30 when they do play at the Garden this year. Ozias Sellers played a good game last night. I kind of forget exactly what his final box score line was against Seton Hall tonight, but Ian Jackson's played really well, especially on the defensive end. He's become a much better and improved defender under Rick Pitino in his first year with the Johnnies. And Dylan Darling, we know what he can do in being an on-ball menace on the defensive end. We saw what he did in the first matchup to Silas Demery. Silas needs to win that matchup at the 1. That's something I'm definitely going to have circled as for what I'm watching out for in tomorrow's game against St. John. But overall, it should be a really, really good game. I don't expect it to be a blowout because for one, I just don't think this St. John's team, I don't think you can blow them out twice in a single season. And UConn, I'm still pretty firm on the claim that I think they're just, when they're good enough defensively to not get round out of the gym with anyone. And I think that's going to hold true tomorrow. Win or loss, I'm super pumped and excited for this game. I'm jealous of anyone who is going to be in MSG watching this game. I know that atmosphere is going to be incredible. And it's really just awesome to see a renewed rivalry in the Big East, a true rivalry where this league has struggled mightily in the last 2 years. And with St. John's and UConn being in such close proximities to each other, and just how they've both went on their separate runs in the Big East. Of course, UConn 2 years back sweeping the Johnnies, Johnny sweeping UConn last year, and them splitting the regular season series 1-1, all leading up to a Big East tournament championship matchup to decide who is the official beast of the Big East. It should be a great battle. I'm, again, just so excited that we get to see UConn and the Johnnies played in what is the world's most famous arena in what I still believe is the best conference tournament across all of the Power 5 conferences. But that's going to take care of everything I had for you guys on this episode of the Saturdays in Stores podcast today. As always, if you stuck around to the end, just please engage with the content any way you can. Super, super excited to see the Huskies hopefully take down the Johnnies tonight, and hoping for a UConn win. Go Huskies. Until the next episode, see you all next time.